Hi, I'm Lori Coffey from Caladesi chapter in Florida. This is my stroke journey. Of all the things I could think about at our chapter's birthday luncheon, the speaker, the conversation, the calories, my mind was drawn to my knife and fork and whether the chicken piccata would end up in my lap. Having had a stroke means thinking differently about almost everything, like trying to hold the fork while cutting. 2 years earlier, just after the stroke while I was in rehab, I was eating with my hands and rejoiced when I could upgrade to a spoon. I've come a long way, albeit in baby steps. Let me take you back to the beginning. It was a sunny June day in Largo, Florida on Saturday the 13th, and I was making lamb chops for lunch. Standing in front of the stove, preparing to move them to my plate, I had a strange sensation of numbness shooting from the left side of my neck to my fingers and down to my toes. I'm a visual person, so I saw it as a bolt of black lightning. Just as fast as it came, it went. That was weird, I thought. Must be a pinched nerve in my neck. I enjoyed my lamb chops, cutting the little pieces neatly with my knife and fork. For dessert, I had made a Dutch apple pie with apples that my neighbor Janice had given me. She was a hater of fruit and vegetables, so I was on a mission to help her find the joy in them. Every time she gave me some, acquired from generous friends or family, I would turn them into something she could enjoy, like broccoli salad or apple pie. As we were standing in her kitchen devouring the pastry, I had told her about my black lightning experience. Immediately after explaining it to her, it happened again. This time, I was concerned. Janice suggested I call the doctor. I went home and remembered that I didn't have a doctor. 3 times my doctors had quit their practices. I was 2 months away from being eligible for Medicare when I had an appointment to see my new doctor. In the meantime, I called an online medical service provided by my employer. While I was waiting on hold, I took my blood pressure. It was still high. 2 years earlier, I had been told that I had high blood pressure and that I should watch it. So I watched it and started eating more vegetables and working out, losing weight in the process. But I shunned a suggested medication. I thought my lifestyle changes were enough. When the doctor came on, I said it was probably just a pinched nerve. She said, "There is no one nerve that will affect both your arm and your foot." She warned, "I want you to hang up and call 911 now." My concern turned to fear as I called 911. While I waited for the EMTs, because we were in the middle of a pandemic, I realized I would need my mask and went out to the car to find it. Thankfully, the fire truck showed up without the siren. When the EMT saw me crawling around in the car, he asked with skepticism, "Are you the one having the stroke?" "Maybe, I don't know." He took my blood pressure. It was 200 over 120. Normal is less than 120 over 80. "It's high," he said, "but because you're not in any physical distress, you can choose whether to go to the hospital or not." I felt like a faker, not someone sick enough to go to the hospital in the middle of a pandemic. I chose not to go. The EMT said, "Then go to the doctor this week." I assured him I would. I went in and called my sister Perry in Phoenix to let her know what had happened. While I was describing the black lightning to her, it happened again. She immediately went into big sister mode. "I don't want to lose you too, Lori." 3 months earlier, Perry had been with our mother when she died from a hemorrhagic stroke, a huge blood leak in the brain. She lost many life functions for her final months, a devastating end for a certified genius who valued her independence and had been capable of anything she put her mind to throughout her life, even at age 90. I knew that because she'd had a stroke, I would likely have one. I always got whatever Mom got. However, I thought I had at least 25 years before I would get mine. Perry urged me, "Call 911, and this time go to the hospital." I listened to my sister and went. By the time we got to the emergency room, the Florida weather had changed to a horrendous downpour, triggering a multi-car crash nearby. The ER entrance was blocked with cars and people scrambling throughout the area. Soaking wet, I was transferred to a gurney in the hallway. A nurse covered me with a dry blanket while I mulled over my lack of planning. I had decided to wear bicycle shorts and a tank top to an ice-cold hospital with flip-flops while I relearned to walk. I did bring my phone, but not the charger. I didn't even pack a toothbrush. I did ask Janice to rally the cat ladies who covered kitty duty for each other. My fur baby would be cared for at least. Eventually, the medical team got to me and ran tests. They weren't sure if it was a pending stroke or heart attack. They were especially concerned since I was on aspirin therapy and had taken a full-strength one when I called 911. And yet I had 2 more Black Lightning episodes in the ER. They checked me into the hospital and wheeled me to a room. Late that night, the big one came. It was very different from the Black Lightning. Fully conscious, I saw myself as a microscopic lorry floating along a huge mountain-like boulder. I had a wonderful sense of calm. I imagined that I was dying and was at peace with it. My only regret was that I wouldn't see my 4 grandkids grow up. But otherwise, it was serene and surreal. Later, when I read My Stroke of Insight by brain scientist Dr. Jill Bolt Taylor, she relayed a similar experience. I was so calm after the stroke that I fell asleep. At 10 p.m., a nurse came in with meds, which I dutifully took, having forgotten my stroke experience. But when I got up to use the restroom, I couldn't walk. I didn't notice anything was wrong when I stumbled along like an orangutan on all 4s. The clue that something was different was when I went to pull up my shorts. Still difficult today. I had no use of my left side. I called the nurse and the team went into action. After CT scans and MRAs, I was surrounded by 10 physicians, plus the head doctor on video. She explained that I had an ischemic, blood flow restricting stroke affecting my entire left side. They wanted to give me an exceptionally strong blood thinner to slow the effects of the damage, but in 3% of cases it's fatal. Do you want to take it? The top doc asked. What a question to decide alone in the middle of the night without any knowledge or even access to Google. I asked the doc closest to me if I should take it. He answered, I can't answer that. I had the presence of mind to reframe the question. I asked them, who has experience with this drug? One doc in the middle raised his hand. I asked him, is it worth the risk? He said confidently, yes. Okay. Let's do it. The next 2 weeks were devoted to my physical therapy, speech therapy, and occupational or hand therapy. With constant effort, I went from slurred speech to clear speech. 2 years later, it still feels like duct tape covers half my face, inhibiting movement and causing cheek fatigue. I felt like I had a ski mitten on my left hand, dulling all sensation like finding an armhole while getting dressed. Today it's more like a golf glove with a slight feeling of individual fingers. Typing is still interesting with the use of one finger on the left and the complete collection on the right. I use dictate when I type a lot. My left leg went from numb to now feeling like it has a plaster cast on it. It's stiff and heavy, so I generally walk with a limp. I've been teased about it, so I'm consciously working to overcome it. Every morning in the pre-dawn, I walk 3 blocks while performing strange-looking PT exercises. When I jog back, I have to remind my affected foot to get up, go down, get up, go down. I have made every lifestyle change to prevent the stroke, which the doctor said helped in my recovery. The main preventative I hadn't done was manage my high blood pressure with a low-dosage, inexpensive pill. A doctor explained, lifestyle changes cannot overcome DNA. We have to be smart when we're caring for ourselves. I can't even remember what it feels like to be able-bodied anymore. This is my new normal. But no one I meet suspects that I have disabilities. I used to lead with it, but just like when I overcame breast cancer, I stopped talking about it because I don't want those inabilities to define me. Like at a chapter meeting when the invited speaker told me to give her handouts to all the attendees. I responded that I wasn't sure I could. I've dropped meals and open water bottles from my left hand, holding sheets of paper, screamed disaster. But she insisted, of course you can. So I thought it through. While seated, I divided the papers into groups of 10, then used my left arm to hold the stack against my chest. I could peel off one group for each table to pass around. Success! I am mostly able, it just takes a little longer and in a different way. As a history evangelist, I love talking about women in history. I can confidently say that I have something in common with each of the women I discuss, like Deborah Sampson Gannett or Nabby Adams Smith. They can teach us a lot about life, but the main key is to keep going, even if the enemy is coming at you or a stroke has taken the ability of holding a fork away from you. As long as you have life, just keep going.